Alright, today we're going to talk about the idea of modifying your gameplay experience within SAP simply by making different choices. So this is something that has been around since the very early days of SAP. I'm sure anyone watching this will have probably at some stage seen or heard of a no-roll run, which basically means playing an entire run without rolling. And I've done a couple of those in the past. It's been a while though. And I've also seen other versions of this. People do runs where they freeze most of the shop and they only have one slot available to buy pets. There's all sorts of things you can do, but I'm specifically talking about pack building. So here you can see on the right hand side the modifiers I'm playing with. So we've got super hard mode on, no super pets, no EXP gain, and we're playing with rainbow jelly. So yeah, because this is a replay, that kind of went by very quickly, but I'll show it again in the second run. And I wanted to see how difficult I could make it and still win when stacking as many of these different modifiers as possible. And if anyone else can come up with some other ideas for modifiers, I think that would be fun to see. I felt like this was going to be way too difficult initially, but actually it's not as bad as you might think it would be. So yeah, let's just go through them all. Super hard, obviously now we've got the option within game to enable different difficulty levels and also enable cursed mode. Now I wasn't playing with cursed mode here, but maybe we'll do that in a future video. Then what were the other ones? We had no EXP. So no chocolate and none of the pets that can grant EXP. Now I did put a little asterisk beside it because obviously you can't avoid stacking units to gain EXP. I actually think someone has done a video on that in the past where they tried to win by never stacking anything. So everything always stayed level 1. Maybe I did it as well, I don't know. But yeah, that would be quite a fun one to revisit, I suppose. And then what else do we have? We had rainbow jelly. So rainbow jelly is one of the new items. It is a tier 6 food, which will give random perks to your whole team if you want it to. You can choose to give the perks to only certain pets. But the requirement for rainbow jelly is that you don't have any perk gaining pets in the whole pack. So that's quite an interesting one because there are a lot of units that gain perks. And I think a lot of them are also units that people would generally take quite frequently, I think. So what we're going to do here is, we're basically just trying to race to turn 11, surviving as much as possible, and then we're going to buy rainbow jelly. Now the perks are random. It will be tier 5 and 6, so you can get some really good ones, but you can also get some pretty bad ones. As we'll probably see during this run. Are we going to lose here? Yep. Always a bit difficult to tell what's going to happen with the new locust. So we're going to sell the Hercules beetle, get a ton of health, a ton of attack onto the sunfish and the mammoth. Here's the rainbow jelly, and we're just looking for some more high tier units that we can take advantage of the food dog buffs. Actually, there's another sunfish. Maybe I'm going to combine units together here. Now, yeah, I played the first few runs I played of this. I didn't realize that Rainbow Jelly was changed on the test server. Originally, when you bought it, you didn't have to choose a pet to target. It would just give everything a perk. But now what happens is you can actually arrange the team so that only certain pets get a perk. So, for instance, you might have bought Rainbow Jelly the first time and got melon or steak or something and you want to keep it. Well, you can do that by rearranging the team, putting the pet at the back that you want to keep the perk, and then buying rainbow jelly onto the 4th pet. So, nice quality of life change there. And yeah, we kind of ended up with a bit of an odd looking team here, but the sunfish can actually hit its own units and therefore cause the wolverine to go off, which is quite nice. And this was a pack that I just kind of filled up with a lot of my favourite units. We had more space than normal because we weren't allowed to take a lot of the pets that I would normally have. So removing, the other restriction that I forgot to mention was no super pets. So that immediately knocks out Chipmunk, Stoat, what's the other one that I always take? Frog. And then the sort of bread and butter stuff like cat and tiger and parrot and so on. So I think this is the right run. There were actually quite a lot of runs I recorded with this, and I think they all just used the same pack. We'll see in a minute when we look at the second run. But here we end up switching to triple sunfish, and the Wolverine sunfish combo manages to earn us the victory. So there you go, you can see at the end it was on super hard mode. And now we'll move on to another one. So here we go, we'll list all modifiers again. Super hard, no super pets, no EXP gain, and rainbow jelly. So I think it would be really awesome if there was some way of actually enabling this within the game itself, it would actually show you if you had any of these modifiers enabled. I'm sure the developers aren't going to do that, but, that's on my dream wish list of stuff to add to SAP. And you can see in this one that we're kind of bypassing the no perks restriction for the rainbow jelly by taking Dino Kairos with an ailment. So that does not count as a perk, even though it is positive for Dino Kairos to actually have an ailment. I think you could probably just go one step further and do another run where you're not allowed to take, fake perks, as it were. But for the sake of this concept run, I was being relatively kind to myself. I didn't want to have to invest a ridiculous amount of time to get a recording, especially since I'm assuming that people are going to come up with other ideas, and I'll want to revisit this quite soon. So I think Abomination is a fun one to use with this as well. Because all the abilities of the pets end up being level 1 in Abomination, you're not really suffering anything in terms of not being able to get the chocolate. But the fact that you can combine multiple abilities can make a difference in some situations. So here I'd end up taking Frogman. I'm not sure why I took Frogman in this pack. I think I was maybe just trying to add a bit of variety. And Turkey, for instance, is not considered a super pet. There are quite a lot of very strong units that aren't in the super pet list. But here we end up winning because a little bit of damage is blocked by the spook there. So yeah, Frogman will not give permanent buffs here because none of our units are actually jumping. I can't remember if I had any jumpers in the pack for the Abomination to swallow. I guess we've got the Taki there, but it would end up being the African wild dog that comes out of the Taki that would get the permanent buffs, which doesn't really help. Here's Fanboy Ochi, so you can see this run was recorded a while ago because I'm sure Ochi has released this video already. So Baboon out, Mammoth in. And are we going to take the... I guess I'm just freezing good summoning type pets for the Abomination to swallow. And yeah, although the Frogman is, the buffs aren't permanent. I mean, the buffs from Turkey in battle aren't permanent either. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. You do get an initial boost of in-shop stats from Turkey, but the fact here that we're summoning multiple fresh units gives the Frogman a lot more value. And I think that's probably something that, Frogman isn't really used for these types of teams very often. And I think it's probably underused in general. You only really see it in the same sort of team where it's always Brain Cramp and Tiger Bug. But anyway, here we go. We get the Rainbow Jelly, and this time we don't want to lose the ailment on Dino Kairos. So we're actually going to move it to the back and buy it on the Frogman, and there you go. You can see it gives equipment to everything except the unit behind the Rainbow Jelly purchase. So yeah, pretty interesting, and I'm sure there are lots of fun things you can do with that. In this case, all we wanted to do is preserve the ailment because it's much better to have, what would it be, half damage is it from, I guess it must be half damage from Dino Kairos with Icky. But I don't think that's going to make any difference here. We're still going to end up losing. Yeah, definitely. Getting the level 2 on that would be pretty nice. And yeah, you can see here, like turn 13, and our higher tier units, apart from Abomination, everything is level 1. And generally by this point, you would expect to be having level 2s on a lot of things, whether that's by Blobfish Pill or Alpaca or Crow and so on. So not having access to them really does change the way you play the game quite a lot. And I really like the utility of the Abomination here. It ends up getting us some scaling. And then we get weakened instead of Icky. So it still will help us a bit. But there actually is a caveat on Deinocheirus that when it has weakness or spooked, it will only take 3 reduced damage hits before the ailment disappears. So that was something that was arrived at on the test server because it was maybe a bit unfair for it to essentially have unlimited damage blocking from those ailments. Fairy Armadillo still has unlimited damage blocking, so it would be nice to see that fixed. But anyway, I digress. Are we going to end up being okay here? I don't know. I mean, we're on 8 wins, 1 heart. I guess Deinocheirus taking half damage here does help us. And then in the end, the Lemon ekes out the victory. So we get a level 2 Frogman, which is really nice. Kind of wild to be getting that only on turn 15. But we're going to take Sunfish because it's an odd turn inside the Abomination. And then probably the Sea Cucumber again. Bit awkward having Mammoth in second position. But maybe I could have actually rearranged and let the Sunfish just hit the Mammoth anyway. But it's a Shark team, and I've faced so many of these Shark teams recently where I disrupt them, but then the Shark regains so much health, it doesn't actually matter. And it's a maxed out level 3 slime. So the Shark's going to get to 50-50. It has been given Tasty. And actually the Deinocheirus survives on 1 HP there because of the level 2 Frogman buff. And we scrape the win. So I thought this was a fun concept. Let me know in the comments if you can come up with any other good ideas for custom pack modifiers.